day 15/16 of the Light It Up Blue Challenge. Now, we had some technical difficulties yesterday. I do apologize, and today's Easter, so we're going to make both these broadcasts for today's game of the Bug Butcher. Well, actually, yesterday's game of the Bug Butcher, and today's game, which will be Hue, right after this broadcast. But the Bug Butcher is we actually gave it a great review on our site, and to kind of dive into it, I'm going to jump into the arcade mode so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on in here. You have to excuse me, I'm suffering from really bad allergies. The weather's been upside down here, and I'm not going to talk for long. I'm going to go ahead and let Camille talk in a few moments, but the Bug Butcher's rated T for teen, and we had a discussion about this in the office about why this would be a great game for the Light It Up Blue Challenge. And the reason why, if you played games like, back in the day of like Buster Brothers or Pang Adventures, which is on our list, and other games such as Top Down, I would say there's quite a few. But when you see the general scope of it, it tends to kind of look more like a tablet or a smartphone game. And, some people have actually said that this game is equivalent to a smartphone game they would play on their smartphone, but it's on the console, and what makes it cool, which you're going to see in a moment, that it is a top-down shooter. It is very simplistic. This is something that is a co-op, but at this time, our second controller died on us because of the weather issues and power outages and so forth, so I'm actually using my controller's charge cable for this controller right now. So again, I do apologize. We wanted to showcase the co-op, but that's like one of the fun parts of the game is the fact that it's co-op. So this is great for families. This is great for parents to play with their children. This is not something that's too difficult. This is as you see here, something very easy to pick up and play. This is something that when you play with your children, it's actually pretty much a fun game. It's no split screen because both players will play on the same screen. And one of the factors that made this a fun game is it's just fun. I mean, it's just, I can't put it into words without getting a little giggly, I would say, but, the game is just fun. Shooting bugs, the one disagreement we had is we always agreed with the ESRB's rating system of, how they rate games and so forth. We felt the Bug Butcher itself, because it got a T rating, was a little too much. This is something you would again see, and I keep using the analogy on Saturday morning cartoon, but honestly, this is something that you would see on Cartoon Network, even on the Disney Channel. Seeing things, where, sci-fi violence, to say the least. It's not something, gratuitous violence or something where, I'll give you an example. Halo 5 Guardians was rated T for teen, and I believe that deserved a teen rating, where I do not believe the Bug Butcher does. And, if you see by base of this game, there's nothing violent about the game itself. The game is very simplistic in its play. I mean, this is not something that, that deserves a T rating. And one of the things that we disagree with, if anything, we would say this deserves an E10 rating versus a T rating. I would even dare to venture E for everyone. Again, like I said, this is something you see on a cartoon, even on the Disney Channel. It's nothing too violent. But this game has a great sensory thing, especially with our special needs gamers on all ports of the spectrum. This is something that's very easy. There's a lot of times where, there's a friendly competition to see who could beat the game fastest and so forth. If anything, the Bug Butcher is what we call a filler game. Now, what a filler game is doesn't mean that it's like a subpar game. It means that if you have children that play, more of their suit themes such as Legos and so forth like that, and they kind of want to break up the norm and just say, okay, I don't want to play Legos anymore, or I want to try something different. These are one of those games where it's easy to pop in. It's nothing that takes rocket scientists to learn, how many controls are there and so forth. This is a very simplistic game to just pick up and play. It's a stress reliever, if anything. We have articles all the time on our site about how stress plays a big factor in gaming, and we always want, the games that you have your children play determine how stressed they are. The last thing you ever want to do is, have a stressed out kid and they're screaming at the game, they're screaming at the console, they're, it's just a bad experience overall. And the Bug Butcher is one of those games that is a very stress-free game. Not only just for children, for adults also. even during our playtests when we work with new parents and so forth, or even talk to parents, they always say, I need something that I can start off with so I can learn how to use the controller, how to, push the buttons. I mean, this goes way past the days of Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt, even the days of Sega Genesis, where you just had a D-pad and 3 buttons and a start button. I mean, have you looked at an Xbox One or PlayStation 4 controller lately? Even the Nintendo Switch controller itself, the Joy-Con, has multiple buttons, and the things have pretty much progressed over the last several decades. So, this is something even for grandparents. It's a good game for them to learn how to play. So, I feel I've talked enough, and because this is a shorter broadcast, because we're doing back-to-back, I am going to let Camille take over, and from a mom's aspect, kind of give a breakdown of why The Bug Butcher is a great game for families. So give me one moment. Just go ahead and kill these things. I don't like using the word kill, exterminate. That's what I'm going to say going forward. Because I am the Bug Butcher. Butcher of bugs. I wonder if I got hazard for this. But yes, if you have ever talked to Camille, she will tell you that I am somewhat of a strange fruit. So, one moment. Or maybe Camille could reach over and grab my headset. She's looking over her notes right now. There we go. So, give me one moment. I'm going to hand it over to Camille.
Hey everybody, happy Easter. If you are not celebrating Easter, then Pesach Tova, or happy whatever you're celebrating if you are celebrating something this week or weekend. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for tuning in for one of my favorites, The Bug Butcher. As Mike mentioned, we don't think that this should be T for teen. We really think that this should have been E for everyone, and of course we respect the ESRB, but their definition of fantasy violence is involving human or non-human characters in situations easily distinguishable from real life. Granted, you are exterminating bugs, but they don't look even like real bugs. They're more like bouncing blobs, so I don't even know if this would count as fantasy violence. You're more so just, pushing a button to shoot at some blobs, and that's it. So it's very simple, but at the same time it's very fun. It does progress through the levels. You get little power-ups, you collect the little coins. But the beauty of the game is the inclusiveness of it. Like Michael mentioned, this is a great starter game to start gaming with your kids, because literally anyone could pick up and play right from the bat without ever having held a controller before. You can pick this up and start playing with your kids or anyone else in the family. And it's also a big stress reliever. And I believe that those types of games are a must-have in anyone's digital library, whether it's a child or someone in their 20s or someone in their 40s. Whether it was a bad day at work, or whether you've just spent an hour playing a more mature-rated game like Titanfall or Call of Duty, and you're suffering from game rage or frustration, The Bug Butcher is a fabulous game to put in for even just a little while, and you'll feel totally refreshed. This is one of those games where I would assert the wine challenge, which is if you come home from work and it would be customary for you to have a glass of wine to unwind after a hard day. I challenge you to put in The Bug Butcher for 20 to 30 minutes and see if you are not just as relaxed, if not even more relaxed, than you would with a glass of wine. And don't get me wrong, you can go ahead and have the wine afterwards, but just to illustrate how calming this game can be. Now, for those of us who have kids on the spectrum, we know how valuable that is, because if your child has maybe been in an overstimulating environment, a place that's too loud with too much action going on, the Bug Butcher is a fabulous way to calm that down and bring that whole situation to a more serene level. It has the pattern element that a lot of kids on the spectrum just pick up, it seems, sometimes without even thinking about it for too long. They see the pattern and it clicks. And so in our playtesting, every single special needs tester was highly approving of the Bug Butcher. That was definitely one of our happier testing days, because we didn't have a single tester who had any complaints about the Bug Butcher, whether they were on the spectrum or not. Even older kids thought that it was funny and that it was fun. And as the levels increased, it got more challenging. As you can see, Mike just got bumped on the head by a blob. Twice. So it's definitely not too difficult for your child, no matter how old they may be. If they're able, like, how many buttons? Right, so okay, so aside from the directionals, the thumbstick that would let you go left and right, there's really only 2 buttons, shoot and special. There's another button if you want to glide, if you want to go fast, but it's not required. So it's really so simple, like I said, and if you've never even picked up a controller before, you could play the Bug Butcher. It's very calming, and it's just one of those general must-haves for the family digital library. Sort of like when you have maybe a camping cabin. There are certain board games that are must-have somewhere in, the living room, Monopoly and whatnot. This is that, but in a video game. It's a must-have. It's very inclusive for families who have members on the spectrum, because young and old siblings can play together and have a great time. And it's so chill. It really helps you chill out, especially if you've been somewhere stressful. And again, that's whether you're on the spectrum or not. This game is going to be a real stress reliever. And so we are all about the Bug Butcher. We think it's a fabulous game. As you can see, it's extremely family friendly. There's nothing offensive at all in this game. Unless you're a bug, but again, they don't really look like real bugs. They're more like funny blobs. They're, which is why I mentioned that we think it should be E for everyone, because, even the so-called non-human characters are they're kind of like big bouncing balls, but with strange little faces. So it's very family friendly. Is this the arcade bug, Mike? Put it up for just a minute. Mike's gonna get out of arcade mode for just a minute so you can... Yeah, that's very important, the co-op mode. So as you can see, it's really not much different than the arcade mode. The only difference is that the waves are not timed. You're not on a time limit, so it makes the game even easier. We like having the option of being able to play arcade mode or not, because it's a way to customize it. You know, sort of a grow with you concept. If your child is just starting out, you might not want to put them onto a timed level right away. And as they get the hang of it, they'll be able to jump right into arcade mode. So it's nice to, always nice to have more options. And look at Mike, did you just get knocked out? You died. But it's nice, it's non-punishing. You can see that even if you get killed, you still get points, and you have multiple lives to keep trying. And we think it's just not only an overall great family game, but because of the inclusiveness, because of the pattern element of the game, because of the overall family-friendly nature of the game, and especially how calming it is, like I mentioned, whether it's a special needs child who's sort of in a state of overstimulation, whether it's a grown-up getting home from a hard day of work. The Bug Butcher is a game that can really help you chill out. Not even 20-30 minutes. You'll be calm as a cucumber. And you have fun. It's not a boring game. It's not something that'll put you to sleep, but it's just something that will help take away that stress element. And that's something that we really like at Family Gamer Review. You'll notice that some of the games that we've reviewed that didn't necessarily get scores as high as the Bug Butcher, it's not necessarily that they're bad games, it's just that we see an element in there that might be frustrating for some of the family members, and that's something that we look out for heavily. But the Bug Butcher, really not a stressful game, so got a fabulous score, and I encourage you to go to our site, FamilyGamerReview.com, and check out the original video review. It was actually pretty funny. I think Mike had fun with that one. He was on a mission to save the world from the space bugs. So that's about that. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you want to hang around, we have a very special feature for Easter. And we didn't even plan it this way, but it's such serendipity that we're going to be twitching the game Hue, as in color. The game is called Hue, and it is definitely one of our favorites. And just like the Bug Butcher, it definitely deserves its place on the 30-day Light It Up Blue Challenge. So, thank you, and we will see you soon.
Take care.